Hey y'all, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Bailey.
Welcome to Livin on a Prayer.
We're two best friends who are here to keep it real and relatable.
Through life's hills and valleys, we're here to remind you we're all just living on a prayer.
Welcome to the house of joy. I can still do that whole dance.
Welcome back, y'all.
Welcome.
This is the
Okay.
vibe of the day.
The vibe is
That's a good song.
joy.
The vibe is joy.
Because Jesus is where the joy is.
Ain't that the truth?
All right. So today we're so excited to talk about, I think, a topic that so many people, actually probably every single person, can relate to.
Every single person.
And
Old,
we're excited.
young, big, small.
We're excited to talk about it from different views, different perspectives, different
seasons,
if you will. So, Kristen, why don't you get it started, girl?
Right,
Get it going.
today.
Get it ready now.
Check this out. Okay.
Why do I sing so much?
Because you're joyful today.
I had that coffee.
Ooh. Okay. Anyway, so today we're gonna talk about change. That was what was on my heart. Because I am about to go through a really big season of change.
Big. Yeah, we actually had a different episode planned for me. And then Kristen was like, no, this is it. And I'm like, that's what this is for. Like,
Yeah.
This is our outlet, too, to, like, get things off our chest.
I need to talk about it. And also, we were talking about it a little bit this week. Just in general. And
for sure.
We really want to touch and, like, help everyone that are going through different seasons of life. And
different
I
types
am in
of change.
a totally different season of change than Bailey is.
Right, but they're both so, like, drastic to us.
So drastic. And they're both change.
We have a box of Kleenex.
Yeah, because it's
for
going to get
this
really
uppy.
emotional here.
It is. Okay, so do you want to start with, or do you want me to start?
With what?
Like do you want to start with kind of like your testimony?
Yeah.
What
Ooh.
season you're approaching, and
Yeah, here we go.
you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you know me, you know. Not everybody does, actually.
Now they
Here we
know.
go.
This
Now you're gonna know.
this is out.
I've been working at the dance studio that we grew up at literally since college, actually. When I came back from college, I actually in college I would come back like sometimes during the week and work there.
And summers for sure.
Definitely summers. And when I was done with college, I finished like in the middle of the year, so I came back home and I was subbing for somebody, I think who was out of town or on maternity leave or something. And when we went into the summer, I still did not know what I was doing with my life. I didn't know if I was moving. I didn't know if I was staying here. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I jumped back into teaching, and then every month, then every change of the semester, like, took on more. And I mean, it is my home. We grew up.
Oh yeah.
We grew up there. That's where our friendship really like thrived. That's where our group of friends thrived. And that's where I like really learned everything about myself. Oh, here we go.
I think we can, like, anyone who, I'm crying, but anyone who walked through those doors with us, like, knows, like, what that place means to you. Because it means that to us too, but, like, you've been there and grown into your adult life there.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, we were like kids there.
I learned like
we learned so much through our childhood, but then you got to, like, really keep going into your adulthood in that same exact building, and that's just really special. Like,
yeah.
you don't
So
get
parents, if you think that you're just paying for dance, you're not.
No, it's so much more than
it's so much more
dance.
than that. But so I mean, I grew up. It taught me everything about myself. As a child and as a friend, and just how to be a kind person and teammate and leader and a daughter.
Yeah.
You know, like, I had to be very thankful for my parents who sacrificed a lot to be able to put me through something I loved and wanted to do. Went on to college, dance, and came back, and I found myself right back in that building, right? And have dabbled in a few other jobs. Like, I've worked in retail, I've taught fitness classes, stuff like that, but this has been like my constant for the last 8 years.
your home.
Yeah. And I don't know, so last year, just rewind a little, I like had this feeling tug on my heart that like I needed some change, and I just felt like I needed to move. And that's what I was going to do. So, you know, in like
Yeah.
March of last year, so about a year, for about 14, 15 months ago, I had decided, like, I think I'm moving. I think I need to change. This is just like what I need to do for myself. And even if it's not permanent, it's just, I got to do it.
Yeah.
And I decided that in about March. And then in May, I went on a retreat and I just decided, like, this is, I don't know, I'm not at peace with this. Like, I had more anxiety about it and more, like, I don't know, weird feelings that didn't settle right. Peaceful. So I said, you know, I'm not leaving, but I don't know in what capacity, like, I'm going to stay and do this.
Right.
I don't know what this looks like. And then I took on more.
And then you double your everything.
I took on more. But anyway, yeah, I took on more. There was that, you know? And that's just what I needed to do at the time. It's just like what fell in my lap. It's what I prayed about. It's what really like sat well with me moving forward.
You had peace knowing like, okay, this is still where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was almost like something was like coming, but you just weren't really sure yet. So you're like, okay, it's a move. And I think as Christians, we do that a lot. We start hopping and like trying to make our own plan, right? Like instead of just like letting God's unfold. So we're like, there's something big, like something needs to happen. I need to move, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. But like sometimes we just need to like sit in that season a little bit and kind of see. And like at that moment, that wasn't your big
No,
thing.
there was something like there was just something weird about it.
Yeah.
And
you knew something was happening.
And I was listening.
To change.
I know we talked about this. Like I don't hear him.
Right.
Like Bailey does.
I think you do.
My gut does.
Yeah.
You know? We talked about that. But things to me just like aren't always clear.
Yeah.
So anyway, I took on more and here we are this year. And I mean, my year technically like starts in like June, July, right? Like for the next whole year. So
a dance season.
For those
who don't know.
And then it like really, really picks up again in August. So anyway, I picked up more and like I was doing it all. I was going through it. I also still own my business. For those of you who are just tuning in, I own a event and party planning company. So I was doing weddings and baby showers here and there. Also in other friends' weddings. So like that's lots of weekends. Dance competitions, lots of weekends. Like the fall's just a busy season. And then after like one of our first competitions this past year, it was our second one actually, in December, I just was like numb, like a zombie. And I didn't know what was happening. It was like I didn't want to get out of bed and go to work, which is like so not like me. If you know me, you know, like I wake up and I just go. And like I didn't want to go anywhere. My social meter, my tank was just empty. My cup was empty, and there was nothing filling it. And there was nothing like I would walk into work, I would do my job, and I would leave, which I hated. I hated that I did that because I used to like just staying there and hanging around and, you know, hanging out with the kids in the hall and just catching up with them and like really pouring into them, even if I wasn't teaching. But something just like didn't feel right. And I just like felt this shake up and like over Christmas break, like 2 weeks off, technically off, but not really, you know? I just kind of sat in silence and I did a lot of praying about this and Jesus was like, you did not listen to me.
Yeah.
And that's like, I felt that in the hardest.
Yeah, you heard that loud.
Yeah, he was like, I told you in March you needed to make a change. Now, if that was moving, I don't know, and I can't go backwards. So, like, that's where I needed to be, but I didn't listen.
Right.
So, like, sometimes I feel like when we don't listen to his clear instructions, like, if he's rattling you a little bit, he really shakes you, and he really makes you uncomfortable and not upset, but just, like...
Uncomfy is a good word. Like, you feel like, he's like, okay, I tried to, like, give you a little nudge and now I'm like shaking you up.
Like, you gotta make a change.
Yes.
And then it was really
I have plans for you, child. Like I have plans for
I
you.
have plans for you and you're not listening because you're trying to plan it yourself.
Right.
Wow, sounds pretty difficult.
Yes, right. I mean we all do it. Like we all do it.
Yeah.
Like that's something I would like love to one day truly say like
just
I'm
release.
good. Like and I do feel like when I get into my side of things, like I've gotten better with it, but that's something as humans I feel like We all do.
Yeah. And then during this time, a really close dance mom actually like noticed just something was off with me.
Right.
She's like, she didn't know that anything was like super wrong. I didn't tell her, but like just by my demeanor,
Right.
just, I guess the way I was carrying myself, she like knew something was wrong. So I actually, she dropped off, for those of you who are Catholic, you know this, a novena. There's a novena bead, and it was the surrender novena, and you do it for 10 days, and she like sent me the actual bead, and it had a card in it of how to do the actual novena, and just like surrendering all your thoughts and
I love that.
everything to Jesus. So I prayed the surrender novena, and that's when it was clear that like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm done trying to control this, like I really got to
yeah.
make a change, but I didn't know what that looked like. So like
Yeah.
that was scary too, was like, you know, going into the next season of dance, you have to plan and make a schedule
Right.
in February for June.
Right.
You have to make plans in the summer for the fall. So you always have to be one season ahead. So I had to make this decision. Like there was no stopping
Right.
me. So anyway, so I made the decision, and I wrestled for a while with, do I do a little bit? Do I do nothing at all? Do I teach preschoolers? Do I just take out the admin work? Do I only do the competitive kids?
Right.
What do I do?
Where you're not supposed to be.
And honestly, I will tell you today, I'm still like struggling with that. All right. Like I
Yeah.
walked out of my last class last night, and I was like, what am I to?
Yeah.
And I actually went straight to the adoration chapel last night, and like right when I walked in, I like, dropped to my knees and the tears started, and I haven't cried in like, I don't know, a few months about this. I don't think weeks, I guess. I don't know. I've been emotional about it, but I just like dropped to my knees, and I'm like, I just need to know that this is clear. Like,
Right.
am I making the right decision? Am I not? Like, and it can be temporary. And I sat down. And every time I go to the Adoration Chapel, I read this book. It's called Life is Messy, and I only read it when I go in there. I don't know, something about it like gives me peace, and it just makes me like realize that like
Yeah.
life is messy. Like,
It's
if anybody
scary.
thinks that life is
A walk in the
linear,
park.
it is not linear,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
lots of ups and downs, hills and valleys, right? So anyway, so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, why? Like, I'm stressed, I'm anxious. Like, I know this is a big week, but I'm really like stressed about this change. I'm really upset about it. If I'm crying about it, I'm like mad at myself for crying about it,
Right.
but I know I'm emotional. If I'm like not crying about it,
I'm like, are you okay?
are you okay? This is a big change, right? So like lots of things are changing. My schedule is going to be changing. Like the people I'm with day in and day out are going to be changing. My job role is going to be changing. My like monetary situation is going to be changing. Like
Right.
all of these things play through my head all day long. So anyway, so I sit down, and I'm just like, Jesus, like, please just calm me down. Like, I just need some kind of
peace
about this.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just sitting there like boo-hooing. The other people that are in here are probably like,
Oh, she all right.
she is not all right, but you can't talk in there, so
Just look
they can ask
the
me.
crying girl.
So anyway, so I start reading the book, and just, this was the first page. So I just bookmark it every time I leave. And right when I pulled it up, this is what it said. It said, stress, unhappiness, anxiety, and depression are not bad things. They are not human malfunctions. They're quite the opposite. They are proof that everything is working out as it should. They come to us as messengers to tap us on the shoulder and point out that our lives have slipped out of alignment.
It's so good. She sent it to me last night. I was like, okay, cool. So we aren't broken. Great. We're right on track.
Literally. It's like when you have those feelings, like that's your gut, right?
Right.
That is Jesus telling you like this situation, these feelings, like something is not right.
Right.
And you need
to fix
to figure out how to figure it out.
Yeah. Like we have it's instinct, like we are given that from God to know when something is no longer right for us, if something's uncomfortable for us, even if it's as simple as like going to a dinner with a group of people and you're for some reason feeling like I'm not supposed to be here, like something feels weird, like we got to listen to that.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason that he's presenting us with those feelings, you know?
Right.
And just like that said, it's like a messenger. Like, it's a little, like, tap on the shoulder, like, hey, you're feeling that because I have something else for you.
Yeah.
Or you're not supposed to be here, or you're not supposed to be doing that. So that was, like, the perfect age for you to...
Well, you know what's scary is, like, I was feeling this before, and then I made this decision, and now I'm feeling it again. So part of my internal, like, shake-up right now, I guess I would say, is, like, am I making the right decision?
Like, why don't you have full peace right
Yeah.
now? Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You've been here for 8 years working. You've been here for your whole life. Of course, you're not going to have peace walking out that door for the last time. Like, these are your people. These are some of your best friends.
Yeah.
Literally, you love these kids like they're your children. You love their moms. Like, there's no... Of course, you're not like... It's
See
not
you
like
later.
you had like a bad experience and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm finally getting out of somewhere. I have so much peace. I'm free.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
No.
So you're obviously battling with just like your heart,
Right.
your human, like,
Well, and the
feelings.
same thing back to this is, like, this doesn't, have to be forever. Like, could be temporary.
Right.
It could be just for a year. It could be, I
Who
don't know.
knows?
Like,
yeah.
and maybe I'm just changing in the capacity, but truthfully, like, when I was making the decision, I had to, me and Jesus had a big old heart to heart of what capacity am I making this decision in? And it was, I have to fully remove myself
Yes.
to see, like, where my heart really is.
Right.
And my business is growing, and I feel like I need to take the time to water that. And if it fails, and if it's not what it, if it's,
Right, but you'll never know.
but I'll never know if I don't try.
Yeah, and that's something we've kind of talked about with, like, her owning her business. Like, I obviously own a business too, and when you own a business, it takes all of you to make it successful.
Yeah.
Like, you literally cannot, like, half own a business, and
No.
you're still, like, new.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you're 3 years old, but, like, you haven't got to one of those years fully
Like,
own
dive
your
into it.
business, because you're like, well, these weeks are marked out for this, these weekends are marked out for this, so I'm free like 1/3 of the year to run my company. And it's like, that's never going to be successful if you can't, like, really pour into it.
Pour into it.
And you poured into this dance studio because you loved it, and that's where you were in that season, and you were doing everything you were supposed to do for that job title too, which I think anyone could respect, instead of saying, well, my business is more important, so I'm just gonna take some of me and put in that. You didn't.
Yeah.
You stayed fully present in your positions and in your job, so, like, you were doing the moral thing. But then it was like, well, I really would love to see where my company,
like, why
you know?
but really, like, why is something inside of me shaking up? But, and that's what it was. It was like, what is the change? Is it just that you have to, that you move? Like,
Right.
do I move and go teach in another dance studio in a totally another state? I don't know. I didn't feel at peace with that, right?
Yeah.
Do I just do a map thing? I don't know. So
Yeah, so it was kind
that's
of
where we
just like,
landed.
and I think also, like, some of the major changes that come along with leaving your job, I think, I mean, anyone who's ever left a job, I think, can relate to the change of, even if you're going somewhere new, like, and you're excited about it, like, say you were in a toxic environment and you're moving somewhere new, no matter what, like, your job does become, like, your identity.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like, it just does. So when you're changing your career, even if it's not your career, just to a new place,
Right.
you're getting new people, new rules, new pay,
New energy.
new everything. So then it's just, change is uncomfortable.
Yeah,
like,
it's hard.
even just like you're going somewhere new and they're like, okay, your lunch is at 11, and you're like, well, my lunch used to be at 1, so now I
have this schedule. This
like,
is what, yeah.
you know,
my
like,
life
it's
used to
little
look like.
things that you're like, should I have done this? Because I really liked my 1 o'clock lunchtime, you know? But, like, and it's little stuff like that that gets us as humans, like, rattled, because we're like, ooh. And, like, yours is major. Like, you're literally, but you're doing for your business what every business owner has to start off doing. It's like, you go in and you're just like, you don't know when you're going to pay yourself next. You don't know when you're going to make money. You don't know if it's going to take off. You don't know anything until you try.
Right.
So, yeah, you're, like, literally
So scary.
taking your paycheck away,
Literally. I'm
And
taking
now-
a consistent paycheck away.
hoping that the next thing just works out.
Maybe scraping pennies off the floor. Y'all just watch out.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? So that's huge, Kristen.
Yeah.
So, like, being anxious about the fact that you don't have a steady income is very normal.
Yeah.
And the fact that you really still don't feel like full peace about what this next season looks like, because you're like just giving it to God, and which is so admirable, but you're literally like, okay, I'll be free after this weekend.
Know I need to get really uncomfortable. Like, I think that's been the word that's been kind of like hanging over my shoulder.
It's
like,
time to get uncomfortable.
You got to get uncomfortable, and you need something to drive you to like get to the next step.
And I know, I totally agree with that. And it's like, I think that's something so many people can relate to. Like, even if you're in a relationship that you're just comfortable in, but you know, like, this is not your husband,
for me.
Or this is not a friend that I should be having in my life. This is toxic, but I'm just comfortable, and it's just easier to keep them here.
To keep the peace. Yeah.
Let's just keep this person in my life. So you settle, and then what?
And then the problems don't go away. They just get bigger.
And what we talked about the other day, like, if we're entertaining things that God doesn't have for us, He is not going to give us the good things He has. Because why would He give you something that you're not going to 100% be in?
Right.
Like, He's not going to give you this, that, or the other, because He's like, well, she's real busy right now. When she feels like listening to me and opening up that schedule of hers, I'm going to provide.
Yeah.
And just the fact that you can trust in that and know and have faith and just know His plan is so much greater than yours will ever be, regardless of regardless of what it includes. I'm gonna get in trouble. Regardless of what you think your plan should look like, His is better.
Way better.
Always. It always is better.
But we can't get there unless we listen.
Trust
and surrender.
Like, I loved that you used that word, because it truly is just surrendering. Like, just surrendering to Him. And just, there's been times where I'm just like, all right, you know what? I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm done trying to plan this. I've been like definitely micromanaging this situation.
2 days ago.
Yes, literally. And I'm like, I'm done. And like, just with like having just that peace and that faith, like, earlier I was saying I've gotten much better, and this is a great example for me, because we're about to move, and I have moved 4 times, and every time I say I'm never moving again, every single time, because it is the most annoying process.
Yeah, like, it really
nothing seems to go right. It's always something. So the past like 3 times we've moved, my anxiety has been like, I can't believe this is happening. Why is this happening now? Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We're going to have to live in a hotel for, like, I just spiral.
Rather than like, man, I'm so blessed that I was able to purchase this new home.
Oh, we're going to be there in a month. Who cares? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
So even with like searching for a home, and I tell people this all the time, when you're looking for your home that you're going to buy, like, it's like you almost always put an offer in on a home and lose it. And that is like the most devastating feeling. You're like, that was my home. Like, like, I can't believe we lost it. And then you always end up in a better home.
It's not.
And you're like, oh, I can't believe if we would have got that other house, we would have not had this, that, and the other in this home. So this time when we're looking, well, Aaron's like always on realtor.com.
Trying for the best deal.
Like, check his Google. It's like realtor.com and like sports.
The best is when I come over and he's like, hey, I saw that property down the street from y'all went up to blah, 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 blah.
Like,
and I turn around and I'm like, excuse me, what? And
like,
he's like, yeah, I read all about it today. But
we're like, okay.
I said, how do you have
that much time to do this? But he does. So he's like always looking. He's always shopping for a home, like always. And so this time around, like for the last probably year, he's like, look at this house. I look at it, I'm like, no, that's not it. Because I'm not settling. Like, if I'm moving again, like, it's going to be worth it to me, because moving brings me so much stress.
Right.
So I'm like, nope. And he's like, what? You don't like? I'm like, no. Okay. And I'm like, not even entertaining. So we find this home, and I'm like, okay, like, I'll look at that house. Like, I think this could be good. And I literally was like, Lord, if this is not seamless, I don't want it. I know it's not for me. Like, I know if we hit anything, that it's not for us, because I know that, like, the peace I feel with you and your plan for us, it is here. So rewind to this. We actually almost built a house like right before this. I had 0 peace. I was like shaky.
Every time you went to that lot,
I would walk the lot and I was like,
something doesn't feel right.
Like, oh, I was so excited. I'm like,
something right.
oh no. Like, I was like, oh no. And I wanted to want it so bad because it could have been such a, like, great home and a great property. But I was like, I don't know. This feels really wrong. So, ended up not working out. Could have worked out, but enough things were coming, like roadblocks, that I was
That
like,
you just
no.
really
I
had to
said,
look at
I
it.
was like, there's roadblocks. Uncomfortable things that are making me feel like this is not for us.
Yeah.
So then we find this house, we go look at it, we love it. We literally put an offer in, they accept it immediately. We don't even list our house. Like, I do like a teaser on Instagram, like, we might move. Had 4 showings. 2 days later, sold the house. 4 showings, sold the house like that day.
Yeah.
So seamless, like, couldn't have been. And I was like, so this is what it feels like to really surrender to the Lord.
Yep.
And do what just be in peace with what he has for you.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it couldn't have been more seamless.
No.
And the whole process, like, has been so seamless until right now. I'm getting a little tested, but guess what?
But I think that maybe it's because that's what that's what you prayed for,
Right.
and that was the beginning of it.
It was so clear that it was our home.
Yeah, and this house is really meant for you, but they do say that you are where you're supposed to be at the right time.
So now our closing's getting moved back. No big deal, but, like, we do have a little window of nowhere to live. Honey and Papa will be at your house. But, like, it could have really ruffled me.
Yeah.
And I remember.
But also, like, what if you were not blessed to have your mom and dad
Right. Like,
nearby?
we really would, like.
Or, like,
We
had
had
a big enough space to take in you, your
my
husband,
family.
and your 3 children,
And
right?
our dog
like,
and our U-Haul. Like,
yeah.
so
that's
we were
a
just
lot.
like, I sat down and I was like, I literally was just staring at the wall, and I'm like, going in my head, like, God has a plan, God has a plan, God has a plan. And I was like,
I have to make a plan, but God has a plan.
I know, and I'm sitting there, and I literally was like, I'm not gonna cry. And I, like, cried for a second, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna cry. Like, I literally, like,
You turned it off.
and I was like, we're gonna figure this out. There's nothing we can do.
Right.
Like, there's nothing we can do. And Aaron's like, there's nothing we can do. I'm gonna go call a U-Haul. We're gonna extend it. And we're just like, we're not letting this ruffle us.
That's kind of like we were talking about last week, where something happens and you cannot go backwards.
Yes.
So you have to decide,
And, like,
how are we gonna make this better, and what's the next step?
Exactly. Like, what's gonna help this situation and what's not. Like, me to start freaking out, crying, making drama.
It's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to make Aaron feel better, and it's not going to change the situation.
Not going to change it. And I said, so what do? We're not going to not buy the house, because then we really don't have any. So, like, we're just going to wait. Yeah. And guess what? Sometimes being in a season of waiting is, even though mine is like, this is a minor example, but, like, sometimes being in a season of waiting is just what God calls us to do.
Right.
Slow down. Wait. Sit.
Trust him.
Trust. Have peace with what I'm doing. Have peace with what I'm working over you in your life. Like, literally, I'm like closing my eyes and raising my hands right now, because I feel it over you, over me, over everyone who's listening right now. Like, God's plan is so much greater than yours.
Yeah.
So much. So if we can, and I went to work that day. I didn't even talk about it. I had the best day. I texted you, like, a blurb of, like, just an update. This happened, and it actually, I think I told you, like, a day later. I didn't even, like, spiral and text you right away, which is typical of me. And I was like, I feel so free not having to talk about this to every client, everyone I work with, and be like, oh, guess what? Our closing got moved. Like,
you weren't even letting it have a hold over you.
And usually I would. So, like, that was a big, like, victory for me to be like, yes, you're growing, girl. You're growing, and, like, you're trusting, and it's a whole different kind of freedom that you're just like,
I got it. I'm waiting.
And again,
I am not letting the anxious thoughts that are not from God
take over my life. And
because what was that going to do? That was going to bleed into your work day. It was going to bleed into your clients and their in the energy.
Oh, the clients, yes.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, you, again, run a business, but if I came in to get my hair done, let's just say, like, I am just someone. I'm not your best friend, so you're not going to tell me anything, right? Like, if I'm going in to get my hair done, like, I want to come in and get my hair done. Right. I don't want you telling me about your negative Nancy house that's not...
I can't believe it. Guess what?
Because all that does to me as a person is, like, that energy attacks me. And or, like, whoever's in your chair, right? And then they're kind of like... They're leaving not feeling... Great. They're like
you're leaving feeling
great, cool. I just got my hair done, but, like...
My stylist complained the whole time. That
all
was
of this...
comfy.
Yeah. All of this energy is like weighing on you.
And that energy, like I was saying, I cut you off, which I'm not supposed to do also, but I did, could also have affected my marriage, like got me and Aaron in a fight, because that kind of, my anxiety does like bring us to have arguments sometimes, because I'm like all worked up, and then we're both like heated and so like it could have done that. Then my kids watched us get anxious over the move, and
then they're anxious that their mom and dad are fighting.
That's a big change for them to move. Like that's a huge change for little children to get a new house. Like, can you imagine like being 5, 3, and 1? I'm about to cry because like these things for them are so big. Like leaving their home that they've known, like the only thing they know, and now they're just in a scary new house, and they have to like be comfortable in there. So if we went in with an energy of like the stress and the anxious, like they feel that they're babies.
And that's pouring into
yeah,
your
they
new
feel
home.
that from our energy, you know. So just like even we were saying at the beginning of this, change comes for everyone. Like my 3-year-old and 1-year-old are gonna be fine, but my 5-year-old, he's gonna like, he keeps asking like, we can come back whenever we want, right? And I'm like, oh my god, no, we can't. Here I am sobbing. If I talk about my kids, I like can't control it. But
well, and there's also big change.
Yeah, he has a lot of big changes
for Ezra, her 5-year-old, right now. Like, yeah, we're moving to a new house, but after this, Bay is going to his pre-K grad.
Yeah,
so like first of all, this is big for mom. He's going to a new school, but it's
huge change for
also
us.
a huge change for him. Like all of his friends are changing, his school is changing, his uniforms are changing,
literally, and it's so
his school
hard.
Time is changing. Right,
Everything.
He's got longer school days.
A longer day, earlier morning, a later day, like.
Then he's moving to a new home. Which is a great thing.
Right. And he's so excited about, like, I'm going to a big school. But, like, I know him. He's my, like, emotional, like, heartfelt one. And he, like, still asks. He was 2.5 when we moved from our last house. And he still asks, like, how's that house? Like, I miss that house. I'm like, are you okay? And, like, our dog passed away 2 years ago. And he still talks about him. Like all every day, and he was 2.5 when we lost him. So he just has big feelings and a big heart. So, and he's asked like, oh my gosh, we can still come back anytime, right? And I'm like, we can drive by one, because I sometimes have to like go driving past our old house. He's like, he remembers like when we're on that street, he's like, this is where we used to go. Can we go see it? And I'm like, sure. So we drive past our house.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, we can drive past, like we sometimes do the other one. And he's like, okay, yeah.
Cool.
And if we just need to come back in for a second.
He's just got so much love for it. He wants to make sure that it's okay.
He's like, that's really like, he has a lot of memories at this house. Yeah. So.
Well, and really, it's like when you're leaving that home too, like you're praying that, well, you're very thankful that you had that roof over your head.
Right.
Like, and that you made those memories and you brought your 2 babies home there. And you just, as you're leaving and emptying those things out, like you are praying that home is a safe haven, a safe space, a new place for a new family.
Absolutely. And the family
to feel the love.
Like they have a little baby. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to love it. Like it's a huge backyard. Like I'm so excited for them to like take it over. I know that they're just going to adore it. But
you're growing.
Yeah.
So you had to make a change.
Right. And like I'm a homebody. So I'm even already anxious about like being in a new house, like being comfy in it. And
yeah, the energy in your home is going to be different. You have to make it yours.
Yeah. So all of that, like, change again, like 2 major, like you're having a career change versus like I'm moving into a new home
and
my son is
your 5-year-old is
to kindergarten.
Going to kindergarten.
Are we kidding?
Right, but those are those 3 really different changes. Like you too that affect you major, but like
so different. But think about like how much they're taking up your brain and your life right now. So like anyone's change, even if it's so minor is, and like mine's exciting. Moving to a new house is exciting. There's no reason, and people might even look at that like, are you really like upset about? But of course, like we're so blessed, we're so grateful, we're so excited for this next season. But it's just change. It's uncomfortable. Like period. Moving to a new house, leaving behind something that's become like your safe haven and your place where you just
made memories
and you come
and
home
it's yours.
to, and it's yours. Leaving that, even if you're going to something new, is hard.
Well, and like we were talking last night, well, we didn't even talk about this. I just was like sitting in my thoughts. Bailey goes to bed around 10. I go to bed around 2.
Yeah, and we have a window where we like, and then I start texting her at like 6 a.m. So, like, we both, like, have these windows where we're just texting the other person and no
Just
one's
to get the
answering.
thoughts out.
But we just are talking to ourselves, like, okay, love that, da-da-da. Okay, anyway, so for today, da-da-da. Like, we just go as if the other person's answering, but they're not.
No,
They're
but it's okay.
sleeping.
So, but last night I was, like, having a moment and just going through this, and I had my night of worry and panic and realizing that, like, I needed to talk about this change to kind of, like, get it off of my chest.
Yeah.
Here I go again.
We are really crying a lot today.
And then I started thinking, like, yeah, these are really exciting changes, but they really are, they're big changes.
They're sad and scary.
But I've had, in thinking about that, like, I've had 2 really good friends lately that have lost family members, and that's scary, like,
and
sad change, right?
Yes.
And so I'm sitting there last night thinking about these changes and, like, and the struggles I'm having with that. And then then they pop up on my heart, and I'm like, man, their world, has really been rocked, like, in a totally different way than mine. And all of a sudden this Bible verse popped up in my head. I'm like, yeah, this is it, right? This is so true. So Ecclesiastes 3 verses 1 through 11. There's a time for everything, a season for activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything so beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. It
so
just, like, hit you
it
just hits you in so many ways. Like, literally, no matter what season you're in life or what's changing in your life, like, that is what God has in store for you, and there is a time for it.
There is a time.
And there is a reason, there is a purpose.
Yes.
And
it's all, like, brings it back to, like, what like you said, like, there's a reason, there's a purpose. It brings it back to, like, he is building us to be the humans that he wants us to be. So these situations sometimes that we go through are building so many different characteristics and so many things that he wants us to learn and see through trial, and through these things. He's not punishing us. He's just really just trying to help us grow. That actually goes with one of the verses that I found. I was like, when we were talking about it, I'm like, okay, this just kind of ties together. But Romans 8:28, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. And this is just a little blurb, but God can work his will even through traumatic, unpredictable, and unfair changes.
Yeah.
So it's like no matter what it is, like, he is working everything together for the good of us.
Yeah.
And, like, it may not seem like that. It may seem unfair or traumatic or painful or confusing.
That's okay. And you can talk about that.
It is. And that's all valid. Like, it is so valid. Like, your feelings are also valid. And something we've talked about numerous times is your pain, even if it's not as, like, big as someone else's pain, is still your pain.
It has purpose.
It has purpose, and it can feel really big. And someone might look from the outside like, are you crying because you're leaving a dance studio? Like, and we're like, do you know the history?
You have no idea.
You have no idea. This is really hard for us. For us.
It is.
Well, my daughter's like starting dance now, and she's not there, and I'm like, so could you have done this later? But it's okay. Go-Go's in great hands, because I know everyone else there is, like, also my family and great. But I'm like, what are you? But it's next year's the 30-year anniversary, so Kristen has to dance on stage.
I'm not going far, so if you're there and
I already started stretching for next year.
You're going to be front and center.
Oh, yeah, I already told Lydia.
Are you choreographing the hip-hop?
I will. She needs me to. I told her yesterday I'll be front and center. She's like, I know you will, because if you're not, you'll find your way there.
Honestly, I had the theme for next year come to me and
Well,
all
you
of
better
the
not put it on
decorations.
here.
I'm not. But Lyd, if you're listening,
She has it.
I
She's
have
already.
it.
I guess she's
I'll
already
actually
back.
probably tell you today when I see you.
I guess she's already back.
Yeah, I can't let it go.
Let go. Let God, Kristen. Let go. Let God.
I am, but I just love it so much that I'm not
It's
really
in your
going
blood.
far.
It's in all of our
I'm
lives.
I'm changing my capacity.
Yes, and I'll tell you what. When I quit teaching, I felt the same way, which is so weird. We've never talked about this, but like,
Yeah, we haven't.
We haven't. But
Wow.
I had this like, oh wow, I'm like,
here we are.
getting like memories put back. I don't know why I've
Did
never.
you cry like me?
Yes.
You did?
Oh my gosh! Like, and I was quitting. Really, I had my first baby, and my business was very fresh.
Yeah.
Like, so the beauty bar just turned 7.5. So this was like, I was pregnant with Ezra. I was going to be having him in the fall. So this was like 6 years ago. So my salon was like a year old.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 almost. And I loved teaching so much. Like, dance for us is just part of our like blood.
They just
like,
built
it's
us.
just, we just are very connected. It's
Anybody
very,
in the dance world, if you know, you know.
So I was the same way. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to make some decisions here, because it's either like be a mom
And run a salon.
run my business, teach dance. Like, where did I even was like, where do
What
I?
about Aaron?
What about him?
Like, what was he just going to be in the background on the couch? Just like,
Like our reels?
you were being a mom and a business owner and a dance teacher. You never said wife.
Oh, I'm a wife? What are you talking about?
I know, but I'm saying, like, you know,
No,
exactly,
I know.
like, where were you going to have time for him?
Well, true, but
that was the decision you had
also,
to make.
I was kind of thinking more like like, how were those titles gonna all like fall?
Well, you have to add that one.
I do. I'm sorry.
'Cause it
Aaron.
does.
Shout out to you. You do be the best hubby. He asked me yesterday, "Did y'all talk about like how good looking I am?" I said, "Are you kidding me?"
I'm not commenting on that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the last time I saw you, Aaron, you were swole.
Don't tell him that. We're gonna build his little head up, his big head up. Okay. Anyway, so I was really contemplating like where, because I was doing like rec competition. I was teaching all the hip hop classes. I had picked up a jazz. Like, I was actually growing my schedule there, and it was really hard to take that step away. And guess what? And like, I just kept telling myself, it's not forever. It's not forever. And even though I'm not going back to teach, my daughter is stepping through those doors this summer.
So you're there in
and
a
I'm
different
back.
capacity.
And I'm back, and I feel back. And honestly, like, I shouldn't say this on the dang thing, because Lydia's gonna like replay this to me, but like, eventually I'd love to teach a class again. Like, I know that one day I can handle that again.
Yeah,
you know?
well, maybe when she's there for a 45-minute class, you can be there
Right.
for a 45-minute class.
So it's
again,
like this really,
a different capacity.
You have no idea what your future holds and like what God's plan is for you.
Change is inevitable.
It is.
We can either get on board or get out.
Yeah.
It's okay that it's uncomfortable. And we just need to
Let
sit
it
and trust
feel it.
and surrender.
Yeah, surrender. That's like the word of this, because I really just love that, and I need to use that more. I need to just like tell myself,
Same.
girl, you better surrender. Okay? Because I don't know what you're doing thinking like all these thoughts in your head are going to like help you.
Yeah.
They're actually just bringing you down and making you more stressed and more worked up. So like really just like focusing on like deep breaths, prayer, having peace, and just like knowing, like let go, let God.
That was kind of creepy.
So
I said it. Sorry.
I would like to close on a topic, not a topic, a point.
Okay.
A great point.
Right at me.
That although we're going through all these changes throughout our whole lives, what is one thing that never changes?
That remains constant. It's Jesus.
Our God.
Yeah.
He never changes.
No.
He is constant. So when you're going through a change, you need to cling to your constant, and that is God.
And guess
he
what?
He is not changing.
Guess what?
What, girl?
He loves you in your highest of highs and your lowest of lows.
It is so true. And like, you can always trust the character of God to be the same.
Right.
Like, you know his character and who he is and how much he loves us and all these things that he's done for us is never going to change. It's never going to go
Even
away.
when you think something is unfair or you're mad about it or you're upset and you're like going through this why is this happening moment,
Right.
and you're asking, and like, even if you're a little, like, let's say it,
Right.
angry at God.
Yeah. I think everyone
It happens
really
often,
Yeah.
right? Like, sometimes we may not talk about it, but people really do get angry
they get
with
angry.
God.
Why me? Why God? Why? Please,
Right.
like, tell me.
Why did this happen to me?
deserve
Why did this happen to my family?
Mhm.
Why?
Why?
But you go back and you say, you know, thank you, right? Like,
Right.
thank you. And you know, if you never get that epiphany here on earth,
You may not.
you may not, but guess what? When you get to him, you can ask him, why did this happen?
Please tell me.
Right? Like, I am ready for the closure.
I've been waiting 100 years. No.
100
seriously,
years later.
Literally, we always quote SpongeBob.
I don't know why, because I can't tell you the last time I watched
Ezra
SpongeBob.
likes SpongeBob. Ezra likes SpongeBob. But anyway, yeah, that's something me and my cousin actually talked about when I started doing this course I'm doing. I don't even know if I've said my course. It's the Bible recap I'm doing, and within a year I will have read the full Bible start to finish. And my cousin, she's extremely knowledgeable. Her husband is extremely knowledgeable, and I lean on them a lot when I have questions. And I'm always like, okay, this may be a dumb question. She's like, first of all,
There's no
we've
dumb
heard that
questions.
there's no dumb questions, but she's like, there's really not, especially your first time reading the Bible. Like, things are going to be confusing. You're going to have questions. You're going to see things you never even have read before.
Right.
But she also was like, but there's things we won't know the answer to until we're in heaven.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I needed to hear that, because I don't know why I had this like,
I need to know everything right here, right now.
And she was like, and everyone reads the Bible and has different takes, and there's different versions of different ways we read things. We have to just remember, like, these are people's point of views that they wrote into the Bible, but there's things you're never going to have that full clarity on until you meet Jesus and you ask him, or you even just, maybe we go to heaven and like everything just comes, like we just get it.
Yeah.
Who knows what that looks like. But it was a good point when she was like, it's okay if you don't know everything. And like, it's okay if you ask me and we don't know everything. Like,
Right.
There's some things that we just won't know.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. So change is good,
Yeah.
y'all. Change is good. Change is scary and it's uncomfortable, but it's not always a bad thing. Even if it feels heavy, bad, scary, it's not always bad. And even traumatic change, I think painful change, it's very hard for us to see the good in that, because it's like we're talking about like loss. I think that's a big one that's very, like, I still don't really understand loss very well, like the whys and the ins and outs to it, but I do know that God wouldn't take someone unless it was part of his plan.
Right.
So I feel like all we can do is just try to use that situation as a chance to get closer to God.
Rather than further away.
Yeah, lean on him. Try your
100%.
hardest not to be angry on him, and just get deep in the prayer and get deep in your relationship, and just try to find something, anything that can help you just cling to that faith and that hope to get you through that season. But regardless of what type of change you're dealing with, if it's your first year in kindergarten, if you're leaving a job you've been with forever, we just pray over you in that change, and that you find peace in the situation, and that you're able to look back, even if it's in 10 years, and be like, wow,
This
thank
is
you,
why
Jesus. That is so clear to me now. I'm so excited and proud that I listened to you, and I have so much peace. I just pray peace over you, Kristen. I know this is a big weekend for you, and I pray peace over all the mamas who are sending their babies to kindergarten next year, because it's a big
anyone
one.
who's making a move, whether it's to a new home or a new
job,
state or a new school.
Yeah, all the things.
Moves are big.
Moves are big.
Yep.
We're all making moves out here.
Amen.
Amen.
I think that's it.
That's it, girl.